What would you say if I told you there was a space where you could throw all of your ideas, thoughts, and insights for a project onto an endless canvas and see everything at once? A space where you could see the mess and sit with it long enough to gain that breakthrough idea that you've been looking for. Let me introduce you to Milanote. Milanote is an app that I am quickly falling in love with, and it is part of the wave of what I'm calling the whiteboard apps. Think of any crime show that you've seen where the detectives are all sitting in the room. There's a whiteboard with tons of images and the writings and the files and all the stuff related, all the evidence related to the case, and there's yarn connecting everything so that they can connect and see holistically what is going on. This, my friend, is Milanote. This method of seeing everything at once provides more opportunities for connection and understanding. So in this video, we're going to take the Milanote app out for a test drive. And I'm going to walk through how to set up your second brain in Milanote, a different way of taking notes on books and articles and podcasts and all that, and then what it would be like to actually manage a project with this method. Now, before we get started, I do have a free gift for you for hanging out with me today. And this is my free guide on how to take book notes without using Readwise and then getting those book notes into your second brain. By the end of the guide, you will have a simple system for highlighting books, a mindful approach for adding content to your second brain, a process for creating building blocks of knowledge for the future, and then a simple way to connect ideas in your second brain. The link to the free guide is in the description below. All right, so we are in Milanote. Now, when you first create an account with Milanote, you're going to be taken to what's called the home board. All right, and Milanote's free plan does not come with a time limit, but it does have a limit of items that you can have. So it's, I believe, 100 before you need to upgrade, which is plenty to get an idea for how the app works. But I just want to show you real quick what it looks like when you first get into Milanote. So boards and Milanote, here's a board right here. Boards in Milanote are like folders of the traditional note-taking app that you're used to. But in this case, a board is an open canvas. It's a whiteboard to put just about anything that you'd need for your projects and for your notes. Now, you can create a board by like dragging the board icon from the left sidebar here, just like I did for this one. You can click and drag and it'll create a new board. You can rename it to whatever you'd like, and it'll automatically give you an icon based on the name of the note. Okay, so once you click and drag the icon into this board, right now I'm in the home board, you can see that up here. But now I have two different other boards, the notes board and this new board, inside of the home board. Another way that you can create a board is by right-clicking and then going to new board. Okay. Now you can have boards within boards, and you can easily see, like if I take this new board right here and put it inside of my notes board, it is now nested inside of the notes board in this notes canvas. And you can see up here in the top left hand side there's breadcrumbs to let you know where you're at, so you can easily get back to the home if you need to. If I want to create a board inside of this new board, I double click into that one. Now I'm inside the new board and I can right click to add a board, or I can come over here to the left sidebar and add a board right there as well. So now I have two new boards inside of this new board. They're all called new board. And now each board can be customized with a unique icon and an image. So every time you select a board, this left sidebar changes. And so I can choose the color of the board, different options here. And then I can choose the icon. What's cool about this is that it's got a feature where whatever board that you name it, let me rename this one to creativity. And so it automatically gave me an icon based on the name. But if I go back and select it and then click icon, you can see that it gives you some options with letters and numbers, or you can upload an image, which we'll go over that in a little bit here. But that's really customizable with the icon and the color, so you can distinguish the boards however you like. And then the board background color right here, the actual whiteboard background color, can be changed as well. You can right click and then go to change board background. Right now I'm in the dark theme, dark mode. Now you can choose these preset colors or choose a custom color. Then you have the dot grid. You can get rid of that if you want and just kind of have like a plain background there, or you can revert to default if you need to do that as well. And then to change the theme, right now I'm in dark mode, you can go to settings in the top right hand corner and then click account settings, and then you will have appearance where you can go between light and dark. Change it back to dark mode because that is what I prefer. Now let's talk about the things that you can add inside of a board, right? So on the left hand side, you'll see various icons and things. These are the things that you can add inside of the board. So if I wanted to add inside of my notes board, I double click in that. If I want to add a note, I have notes right here. I have links that I can add, URLs and YouTube videos and all that stuff. And I'll show you later on, but you can also just copy and paste into the board itself. You don't have to go to link and then click into this and add the URL. But I'm just showing you exactly what you can put inside of each board. Then we have to-dos, which is nice, right? You can have a to-do list inside of the board. So you could have your notes and links to resources and all the tasks that you need to perform for a project all at once in one board. Then we have lines. These are great for a lot of things, connecting thoughts and ideas, flow charts, mind maps, and all that stuff. So it's great for that. Then you have columns. Columns are great for organizing information, and you can put any of these inside of the column and rename the column. We'll go over columns here in a little bit, but that's another thing you can add inside of a board. And there are other things as well. If you click these three dots, you got some other options, but for this video I'm just going to stick with the main things here. And as I go through setting up Second Brain and the projects and the book notes, you'll see how powerful this app can be. So let's kick off with how to set up your Second Brain in Milanote. All right, so I've moved over to the desktop app. It's one thing to note, they have the web version, they also have a desktop app and a mobile app, and we'll go over the mobile app in a little bit. But on the home page here, I've created my projects, areas, resources, and archive using boards and columns. I will say that most of these boards don't have content inside of them, since this is just a demonstration, but you'll definitely get the idea of how this can work for you. Let's start with columns here. So like I mentioned before, columns are great for grouping information. So if I want to add a column, I can click and drag from the right hand side or from the left hand side, and then I can rename that column if I want. But the other way to add a column is to right click and then go to new column. Two different ways to add a column. Pretty simple. And anything, like I mentioned at the top of the video, anything can be added to a column. In this case, I have the boards that are added to these columns to help me group projects, areas, resources, and archive. The other thing that's cool about columns is they can be collapsed. So if I'm in focus mode and I really just want to see the things that I'm working on right now, which would be my projects, I can collapse this other information here. Let's say I had a long list of archive as well. I can collapse that and it still shows me how many boards are in here, which is nice. But then I have a more focused view of what I'm working on. Now, I'm going to open these back up, the resources here and areas. You can see that I have a Sparks board right here in the resources column. And the Spark board, for me, if I double click into it, this is a collection of random thoughts and ideas related to projects, areas, and themes. And anytime that you go into a board, the title of the board is going to be in the middle section here, so you can know exactly what board you're in. But then you also have the breadcrumbs in the top left, like I mentioned as well at the beginning of the video, where you can know exactly where you're at, and also a quick way to get home and navigate back home. But for now, let's talk about notes. So if I want to add a note, you can probably guess the one way to do that is by clicking and dragging from the left sidebar here. Pretty simple. The other way that I really like is I can double click anywhere in the canvas or the whiteboard and it will show up for me and I can start typing my note. And then of course you can right click, go to new note. So that's 3 different ways you can add a note to a board. What's also cool is when I add a note, Markdown is supported, right? So if you're a fan of Markdown, this is a title, this is a subtitle, okay? And the individual notes, right? You can have Markdown. The other thing that you can see is that if I highlight text, I can format it over here as well. So you can do bullet points, you can do a numbered list, you can center text, you can left align, right align, or maybe it's just center and left align. You can link something, you can hyperlink something, which is nice. All of this formatting is available once you click into the card and start adding content. The other thing is you can resize the note manually, but it'll also resize for me. So I can resize it here to whatever size that I need, or it'll just grow and expand as I add content in there too. So that's nice. The longer notes can be converted into documents, and you can do this by selecting the note and right clicking. And then you can go to convert to document. Now this documents they use for longer content, not just, a couple sentences here like this, but you can also convert that back to a note, which is nice. But also if you actually start typing, or if you copy content into a note and it gets to a certain length, it will actually suggest, or at the bottom of the note, it'll ask you, do you want to convert this into a document, which is nice, right? That's something that it does for you. The other thing you can do with notes, you notice that I have some of these that have different colors and stuff, like this one. So you can actually customize the color of the note. If I select any note on the left hand side in the sidebar, you have card colors. So you can change the color of the entire background of a note. Let me move this over here to whatever you'd like. Or you could do the top strip, which is nice. So if you don't want to go full background, but you want to do just a slight color variation there, if you are wanting to use color to differentiate different types of notes or something like that, this may be helpful for that. Okay, so some of these notes, you'll notice they have at the bottom a sentence that says there are other copies of this card, right? And this is hyperlinked. So when you click on that, it's going to show you where the other copies are of the notes. Okay, so what you can do in Milanote is sync notes so that you have a single note that you've created, but you can add it to different boards in different places, and it will update. However, like wherever you actually edit it, it'll update on all the other ones. So it's cool because you actually can see what other places the note is in as well. So in addition to having one note that is, you can edit it and it's edited and it's reflects everywhere else, you can also see what other areas, what other projects, what other boards does this note belong to. And then you can actually go in and click into those notes in those boards. Okay, so within a moment, you can switch contexts and see the same note, but in a different context. Like this note right here is currently, I'm looking at it in the Sparks board. And the Sparks board is made up of all kinds of notes for me that are related to all kinds of areas. But if I'm looking specifically, I want to look at like health, right? I can go click this link here and go into health, and then bam, I'm immediately in the health board where I can see that same note right here. And I can go to other copies and see, oh, that's also in Sparks. I can go back if I want to, but this is a totally different board, totally different context, which is really cool, in my opinion, for being able to see different perspectives and all that. All right, so how do you sync the notes? That is a great question. I'm going to create a note while we're in health by double tapping. Say this is a new note on health. Okay. So I want to select the note. Click and drag and select. And then I want to hit Command C to copy the note. And I want to put this note also in my Sparks. So what I can do, a shortcut to search, is hit Command F. And then I'm going to search Sparks. And when I click into Sparks, I'm now going to paste Command V, that note. Now you notice here, let me zoom in. It's giving you an option here. Keep this copy in sync. You can say yes or no thanks. Here I'm going to say yes. Now bam, I have this note in two different places. I have it in health and in Sparks. Let's see. We're going to look at lines. Okay, so some of these notes you may have noticed right here and over here, they have lines. And in a traditional note-taking app, you may have a single note, right, with some text, some of your thoughts, and maybe there's an image and maybe a URL. But in this whiteboard method, one of the ways that you can use lines is to help show how things are related. So in this case, if I zoom in a little bit here, I have this note that says final CTA section. I'm a UX designer, so some of these notes that I collect are related to design. And so, I've created these lines to connect to the URL here and an image, a screenshot of what I'm referring to. Because you can't add a note within, you can't add an image within a note. So the way to connect these things and make sure that I have a visual representation of what I wrote down, you can connect them with the lines. And then when you actually want to connect an idea, you can highlight it, and then at the top right hand corner you'll see this little dot. You can hover over it and click it, and then you drag, and you'll start to see the arrow come out of the note, and you drag it to whatever one you want to connect. You'll see as I get closer to the note, it's going to highlight it. Then I can let go. And now all of these are connected here, and when I move this around, it stays connected to that note. Another example you may come across is like maybe reading an article and then having some ideas and wanting to extract some quotes from the article. So in this case, I copy and pasted this URL, this article, into the articles, emails, and videos board. And when I read it, if I read it and there were some things that I wanted to extract, specific quotes and stuff like that, obviously these are examples, I can create notes and then tie them to this article. Once you're in a note, you can actually hit Command with the quotations. That's a shortcut to turn that into a quote. I also have like the top strips with the quotes that are in blue, so you could use blue, or I mean not blue, but you could use any color to again differentiate between the quotes and a thought. So this is a thought is in orange in this example, and then I have quotes in blue just to help you distinguish. All right, so one other thing I'll mention about articles is the web clipper from Milanote. This is a great way to save articles and images, and it's available on Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. You can just Google the Milanote web clipper, and you can save to various boards. You can save to the home board or any other boards, and it's great. For example, if I'm on this article right here and I want to save it, I have the Milanote right here, this web clipper. When you click it for the entire article, it will allow me to save to home or the different boards. Now this is currently signed into my other account, so it's not going to allow me to save it to the one that I'm actually showing you guys right now, but this is how you would do it. You can just save to home, and it shows that it's saved, and it'll show up in the unsorted area of the board that you selected. So in this case, I saved it to home, and again, because it's not going to show it because it's on a different account. But that's something that is really awesome and really useful if you are reading a lot of articles and want to be able to save that really quickly. Something else, I'm going to jump into articles, videos, and emails here. Something else I want to show you is, podcasts and YouTube videos, or just videos in general. You can see I have a YouTube video right here. What's nice is this can be played inside of Milanote, right? So I can resize for a better viewing experience. And I can play this video inside of Milanote. Okay, this is pretty awesome. And then I have podcasts. When I copy and paste a link from a podcast into Milanote, I can play the podcast and listen to it inside of Milanote. And what's really awesome is that about that is that while I'm listening or listening to the podcast or watching the video, I can take notes. Right? I'm like, if I'm watching this video, I can start, taking notes. Right, and then I can follow the same pattern of copying this and then putting it into like a Sparks folder if I wanted to, or whatever area or other project it relates to. But that, and then you can use the arrows here if I select, and you can have different types of content that's related to this video or this podcast. Super cool. Let's look at book notes. I'm going to go back home. And in my resources, I have a book notes board. And then every book for me would be its own board. And what's cool is I can customize the image. Like I mentioned before, I can customize the image of each board. So every one of these boards, I've used the custom image, and I just grabbed the link, the image from Amazon, and threw it in here, and it seems to be working pretty well, at least just, for what I need. I don't need it to be perfect. As long as I can easily identify what book it is, that works for me. You could also, if you wanted to, you could use columns. So if I throw in a column here, I could use columns as almost like bookshelves, and say favorites, right? And I could have another column that is for, the topic of the book, marketing or building a second brain, all that kind of stuff, which is kind of neat. You could have that set up like that. And then, if I go into any of these notes or any of these boards for the book, I then have my quotes and thoughts for the book. And you can see as well, I have other copies of this card, of this note, in different boards. I have it in creativity, so I can quickly switch to creativity and see all these other different notes and different quotes. Or I have it in the quotes, right? So I can switch contexts really easily and quickly, which is super nice. I really love that feature. So let's head back home, and we're going to look at some project examples. So one of the examples that I have is building a writing shed. This is actually something I really want to do. And if we open it up, you can see I've got different things going on here. I've got a to-do list. I have a mood board type of thing going on. I've got a sketch over here, and then I've got a mind map over here. Okay, a lot of things going on. I want to focus real quick on to-do lists, or to-do items. So you can add a to-do item from the left sidebar over here. Click and drag, bam, it's right there. You'll notice whenever I'm selected on a due date, or on a to-do item, I have here a due date that I can add, and I can assign it if I have other people on the board, or I can assign it to myself. And then you can also change the color and the title as well. So I could actually have a title. I could have multiple to-do lists with different titles, right? If I didn't want the title, I could just click that and get rid of it. But I have a few of these right here that have different due dates. And so I can add endless to-dos, and each one of these I can customize the due date when I want it to be done. I can add the time. You can add reminders, all that. So really great for managing projects, and it's awesome. I've used columns, the columns feature, to group images, right? So you could do anything you wanted. You could throw these images and just connect them with lines. You could just throw it on the canvas and however you want to. But you could group information with columns. So in this case, I have an inspiration column, and I threw in some images here of things, of different writing sheds that I would be interested in and that I have interest in. Then we have over here the mind map. So we've already talked about lines. In this case, this is a little bit different use of it. I have the one idea, the question that I have is, what do I want in my writing shed, right? And so I just started writing down ideas of things that I may want. And these are all individual notes that I've just connected. And each of these can be expanded upon because it's a note, right? So I could get more specific, and I could use Markdown, and I could format these notes, or I could just keep it really brief like I have it right now. just another example of what you could do. And then of course I have the sketch over here. You can actually right click and oh no, not right click. You can over here on the left sidebar, you can just click and drag this draw, or rather you just click it and you can draw actually on the board if you wanted to, or you could add from the three dots here, you could add a sketch. This is where you click and drag, and you can resize it. When you click into it, that's where you can start drawing your sketch. Okay, you hit save, it saves it. All right, so sharing and exporting. You can share individual boards in read-only mode. So if you go up to the top right-hand corner, right now I'm in the Building a Riding Shed project, which is a board. I could share this board, a read-only link here, by enabling, and then I hit the copy link, and you can change the settings here as well if you want to add comments or allow people to have comments. But you can also preview the link, which is nice. If I click that, it takes me right over to a version of what the recipient would see and how they would see this. They don't have to have an account to look at it, which is nice. So if you just wanted to share that project that you're working on with a friend or something, that's really awesome. They also have, you know, if you want them to be able to edit the board, you could invite editors via email, but they do have to have an account to be able to edit. And then you have a search. So I went over search for briefly, but the search is really nice, and a shortcut to get to search is hit Command F. And if I want to search maybe you know, an author or something that I really like that's in my second brain, Alan Arnold, I search for that, and now it's going to show me the matches inside of the boards. Okay. And I wish that it would show me the keywords and their context, and maybe that's coming in the future. Like if I have Alan Arnold, maybe it's a quote or something like that. I know I have two matches right here, but maybe it shows me the actual quotes instead of the board. This is still helpful, but that's just something that I wish they would focus on. And then when you click into, let's say, quotes here, it's going to highlight here. It shows at the top the results for Alan Arnold, and then in that same color throughout the board, I can see where Alan Arnold is at, which is nice. And then we have the mobile app. So on mobile, it's a really great experience in my opinion. They weren't trying to be the whiteboard on a 4-inch screen. But this it really from left to right, I believe, is how it works. So you just kind of see everything stacked. You can still edit things, and it's great. The one thing that I really like about the mobile app is the quick notes feature. So at the bottom of the app, there is a quick notes. I believe it's at the bottom. There's a quick notes little tab. You touch that, and then you can add notes. And these are just, you know, the fleeting thoughts and ideas that you have throughout the day or whatever. You add those, and then you actually, when you go into your desktop app or the web version of the app, you actually can see that right here in the top right-hand corner show up right there for you, which is nice. And then you can click and drag that into whatever board that you want. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you enjoyed the test drive of Milanote. If you want more information on personal knowledge management, building a second brain, or creativity, check out this next video.